Western politicians have no say over the most important policies they implement. American and European politics are secretly governed, almost entirely, by the Zionist movement based in Washington, New York and Europe's major cities. One stands no chance of being elected in the West unless he or she is totally subservient to them. Understand this and you will see why all the governments of the West for the last 50 years have implemented identical policies that have damaged their own nations. Take for instance this example of Bill and Hillary Clinton. While President and First Lady of the United States, the Clintons came under the influence of Michael Lerner. He is a Jewish practitioner of Kabbalah mysticism, mind control. Lerner was the leader of a Marxist subversive organization in the 1970s. As a junior professor, he was the organizer of the ultra-left-wing Seattle Liberation Front. Lerner had an indictment against him for a violent assault on a U.S. federal courthouse in Seattle. This subversive also produced an obscure left-wing Jewish magazine called Tikkun. It had 40,000 subscribers throughout America. Bill and Hillary Clinton became enthusiastic followers of this eccentric cult. It has been described as a Jewish heresy that mixes the Old Testament with medieval Kabbalah mysticism, plus a noticeable amount of 1960s university Marxism. This unhealthy Tikkun cult gripped the imagination of the Clintons, who claimed they looked to it for inspiration. Bill Clinton wrote a letter in 1988 saying, "You have helped me clarify my own thinking." Hillary was also converted and became a true believer. As a result, she went on a crusade to feminize America. Under the influence of Tikkun, Hillary Clinton said during a speech that she wanted to achieve for America a new covenant by means of the paradigm shift. Few people understood what she meant. However, the subversive movement was so enthralled with their Clinton stooges that they continued to use them in international political affairs long after they were out of office. Like most subversives, Lerner had in his manifesto an anti-marriage agendum. He once had a wedding cake made with the word "smash monogamy" iced upon it. He talks about class war and the sins of living in a racist society. He makes a big issue out of turning our backs on gays and lesbians. Perhaps David Cameron is also under the influence of Michael Lerner. Certainly the likes of this Tikkun freak are having too much influence over Western politics. Many Americans have been strongly critical of Tikkun's rantings. They accuse Lerner and his disciples of tearing down the pillars of traditional society. Orthodox rabbis regard Lerner's views as borderline heresy, yet the Clintons treasured his every word. 1970 Michael Lerner, on left, in jail being escorted from the courtroom. Notice how the Kabbalah mystic seems to be giving a satanic hand salute. The first report of the Clintons being under mind control through mysticism, by a Jewish subversive, was published in the Sunday Telegraph on June 20, 1993 under the heading "White House Gets Fever." The article concluded with the idea that the Clintons were susceptible to dangerous thoughts because they had no fixed idea of themselves, no moral anchor. This is probably true, but it hardly makes them worthy leaders of the most powerful country in the world. So important was the fact that the president and his wife were having anti-American ideas implanted into their minds. You would have expected most readers to mention it to everyone they met. They clearly didn't. This is because Zionists, Fabians and Kabbalah mystics have it firmly established in the minds of most Christians that finding fault with Jews is the greatest crime of all. It is this insane phobia that is allowing white nations to destroy themselves. One of Clinton's final actions as American president was to bestow favors upon the criminal world. He issued 140 pardons and gave 36 clemencies. Clinton pardoned his brother Roger in 1985, when he was convicted of drug smuggling, so this was nothing new. The ex-president came under investigation over these pardons. The first that came to light was the favors he gave to a New York Hasidic Jewish community. A meeting took place between Bill and Hillary Clinton and a group of Jewish leaders looking for sentences to be cut on 4 swindlers from their tribe. David Goldstein, Benjamin Berger, Jacob Elbaum and Common Stern cheated the American government out of millions by claiming for a fake Jewish school. They were jailed for 2 and 4 years. Clinton reduced the sentences dramatically. It seems probable that vote rigging took place during Hillary's election to become a senator. An enclave of Hasidic Jews who received favors voted overwhelmingly for her, recording 1,359 votes with only 10 for her Republican opponent. In New York's other Hasidic enclave, Hillary received only 152 votes. Bill Clinton attended Oxford University during the 1960s, where he was a Rhodes Scholar. He studied politics at University College, Oxford, where he was no doubt brainwashed by the same Marxist lecturers who have left their indelible mark on Tony Blair. Tony Blair's other close friend and ally is Romano Prodi, the European Commission president. They both have visions of a socialist EU bloc with one central government like an enlarged Soviet Union. Prodi has said recently the EU should aspire to be a world power, not just a trading bloc but a political entity, and the purpose of the debate should be to make European citizenship a tangible reality. We first published an article exposing the Clintons' subservience to Michael Lerner in The Flame during 1994. Since that time, world government, Antichrist groups have made tremendous gains, but the public still appears oblivious to the danger. Due to the enormous power and possible abuse of Kabbalah mysticism, responsible rabbis restrict its use to advanced students over the age of 40 who have completed their religious education. However, there are many practicing this form of magic who shouldn't be. Even moderate conservative rabbis acknowledge mysticism to be a form of magic. Freemasonry also incorporates a form of Kabbalah mysticism, and despite protestations by its leaders, it has been identified as anti-Christian. Many politicians are Freemasons. It should be noted that members of this society are required to tell lies and perjure themselves to protect fellow Masons. They are also required to obey orders even when they know them to be immoral. Both Joseph Smith, the creator of the Mormon Church, and Ron Hubbard, who founded Scientology, were both Freemasons. There are many who have left the Freemasons out of disgust and written accounts of its dark practices. It has been clearly established by their admissions that being a Freemason leads to loss of free will and that it is not compatible with Christianity. There are certain words used that inspire trust where none is deserved. Freemasons give up their freedom in exchange for the benefits that organization can provide. Western governments describe themselves as democratic, although they are far from being so. Trust is another word used to trick the unwary. Hospital trusts were formed to allow members of an inner political circle, who know nothing about the running of hospitals, to create jobs for themselves and filch public NHS money. The Runnymede Trust is a self-appointed anti-British organization that has influence within Parliament. You may have felt at the beginning of this article that there are MPs who have spoken out against Israel. Do so as a member of one of the main political parties and your career is over. David Ward MP, a Liberal Democrat, condemned Israel's actions in February 2013. He was heavily attacked publicly in the press by his own party executive. To try and save his political career, he caved in and apologized, despite the fact that what he said was true. This wasn't good enough for organized Jewry. They continued to hound him. Jenny Tange, another Liberal Democrat MP, has also been critical of Israel. She has effectively been kicked out of her party. Enoch Powell, once the most popular politician in the country, was forced into the political wilderness at the insistence of the Zionist Federation. Why didn't the great British public leap to his defense? It is due to a ridiculous fear of Jews that has been instilled into the subconscious mind. We will never begin to overcome our deceitful enemies until the public makes the effort to discover the facts.